In a previous video, we were introduced to general interdisciplinary databases and learned a little bit about searching them for sources. In today's video, we'll look at some specialized databases that are helpful when researching topics in music. We'll look at 3 databases on the EBSCO platform, which we learned how to use when we previously examined Academic Search Complete. These are first, the Music Index, second, RILM, or Répertoire International de Littérature Musicale, and third, RIPM, or Répertoire International de la Presse Musicale. These last two form part of what are called the 4 R's, along with RISM and RIDM. We will look at them another time. We will also look at 2 databases on the ProQuest platform, which you remember from our exploration of ProQuest Central. These are Music Periodicals Database and ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. When we are done, you should have a much better idea of the electronic resources available through the library for your music research. We will start with Music Index. Access Music Index the way you would access any database by entering the database name under Databases on the library website. Click on Music Index, and if necessary, authenticate with your 87 number and passcode. This will take you to the Music Index. The Music Index started in 1959 as a monthly print index of articles in music periodicals, both scholarly and popular. These days it is an online database, but its purpose has not changed. Most of the articles indexed are from 1959 or later, though there is some retrospective indexing. In other words, some material has been added from before 1959. A limited number of index entries linked to full text of articles within Music Index. A rough sampling indicates a proportion in the ballpark of 20%. The article linker tool will allow us to access the full text of much more. We can search the Music Index by subject heading, keyword, or several other fields. We'll assume for the sake of this demonstration that we're looking for a scholarly article we have heard about that discusses the author Stanley Cavell and the composers Mozart and Beethoven. We type each of these names into a different search box using the AND operator to connect them. The database returns a single match, and we click on it for more information. This seems to be the article we're looking for. It's titled Music Recomposed, Remarks on the History of the Same. It's by Lawrence Kramer and was published in the spring 2010 issue of the Journal of Music Theory. There is even an abstract to summarize the article for us. However, there's no full-text link to access the article itself, so we click on the article linker button, and it takes us to an intermediate page of access options for the article. We choose the link for Highwire Press. And eventually arrive at a page for the article in a different database. We click on the link for PDF full text, and the article is revealed. We can download it to our computer if we want to. Back in Music Index, we can also browse to the article if we have an accurate citation. The Publications link at the top of the page takes us to a list of all the periodicals indexed in this database. We can search the list by title to find the journal we want, and clicking on the name of a journal will take us to a page for that journal with links on the right for different issues. Note that the years in this list are not completely in order. It starts with 2017, then the next is 1971, and the years are listed chronologically until 1976, where it jumps to 2003. At 2006 it jumps back to 1998, and well, it's a bit of a mess really. All of the years from 1971 to 2017 are actually in here, and if you can find the right year, you'll be okay. Not all of the publication detail pages in Music Index have this problem, but a significant number of them do. I'm pointing it out so it won't confuse you excessively if you encounter it. We are looking for the Spring 2010 issue, so we click on 2010, then on Spring, and we get a list of all the articles in that issue. The third article is the one we're looking for. Clicking on the record for the article in the summary list takes us to the same full record we saw previously, and we can access the article through the Article Linker tool, as I've already demonstrated. Music Index also searches popular periodicals on music. Let's imagine we're researching the rock band My Chemical Romance. We enter the band's name in quotes as a search phrase, and we get 217 matches. The third match is from the December 23, 2010 issue of Rolling Stone, and we decide to look at that one. We click on the entry in the summary list to see the full record for the article. In this case, the full text of the article is available, but in HTML format rather than PDF format. As before, we can browse to the same article if we have the citation information. The publication list allows us to search for Rolling Stone and takes us to a page for that periodical. Again, we see that the years on the right side are not completely in order, but we do manage to find 2010 and to select the December 23rd issue. It's a simple matter to find the article we're looking for, and we find the same full record we've already seen. To summarize, the Music Index is a good index to music periodical literature since 1959, with some retrospective indexing from earlier years. It has all the usual features for an EBSCO database. It has limited access to full text, but used together with Article Linker, we can often find the full text in another database. Next, we look at RILM, often pronounced RILM, which stands for Répertoire International de Littérature Musicale. RILM is an international project with committees of scholars in different countries that track and index scholarship in their own country, creating an abstract or summary of each item before forwarding their information to RILM's International Center in New York. The project was started in 1966 by the International Musicological Society and the International Association of Music Libraries. It was groundbreaking in its use of computerization to organize its material, and it was the first abstracted index of literature in the humanities. RILM's main publication, RILM Abstracts of Music Literature, was issued in print annually from 1967 to 1999. Now it is available as a searchable database on the EBSCO platform. RILM's mission is to capture all scholarly literature on music in all countries and in all languages. It is not limited to periodical literature, but also indexed sources like monographs, essay collections, published conference proceedings, dissertations, even dictionary articles, program notes, essays, and score editions, and other forms. Originally confined to scholarly literature, RILM formerly did not index popular periodicals, though in recent years it has begun to do so. It's also important to understand that RILM includes articles about music in non-music periodicals, such as the Atlantic Monthly or the Arts and Psychotherapy. The abstracting component of RILM has been a central part of its mission from the beginning and remains an important part of its value. Each abstract is created by a music scholar who has read the item in question. Although our version of RILM is labeled 1967 to present only, there is actually some retrospective indexing from before 1967. What you are unlikely to find in the retrospective indexing is an informative abstract. RILM also has very little access to the full text of documents. It is first and foremost an index. Let's look at a couple of ways we can use RILM. First, we'll see if we can find the Lawrence Kramer article we located in Music Index. We'll just start with the title, Music Recomposed, Remarks on the History of the Same. We get two matches, one for the article and one for the journal issue that includes the article. We click on the one for the article, and we see the full record with abstract. You may notice that the list of subjects is much longer and more detailed than the one we saw for the same article in Music Index, reflecting a more sophisticated approach to subject indexing in RILM. There are also features here that Music Index did not have. For instance, linked to this item next to collected work will take us to an entry for the journal issue this article was printed in. Linked to all related parts will take us to a list of all the articles in the same issue. If we want to access the full text of the article, we use the Article Linker tool just as we did in Music Index. At this point, we may want to scan the bibliography at the end of Kramer's article, and we may notice a citation for a book by Richard Leppert called The Sight of Sound. Because RILM indexes and abstracts more than just periodical literature, we can search for this title to find out more about it. We simply capture the title from Kramer's bibliography, paste it into the search in RILM, and find a record for it. Two records, in fact. We click on the second record and find subject indexing, an abstract of the book, also a list of links to reviews of the book. Here's a tip. Scholarly reviews are an excellent information shortcut for a book if you don't have time to read it all the way through. Reviews of this type typically take great care to situate a work in the ongoing discourse that surrounds it. To summarize RILM, it has thorough indexing and abstracting of scholarly literature on music after 1966 and contains much more than journal articles. It also contains music articles in non-music journals. It has some indexing before 1967, but without abstracting. It has limited coverage of the popular press in music. A rough test indicates it has about 1% of what we can find in Music Index. It also has very little full-text access. Practically speaking, it has none. You will need to depend on Article Linker and other resources like library catalogs. Now let's look at another EBSCO database, RIPM, or Répertoire International de la Presse Musicale. RIPM focuses on retrospective indexing. It was designed to address the literature before RILM was created in 1966. It indexes music periodicals from 1750 to 1966, but focuses on the period from 1800 to 1950. RIPM has no full-text access at all. You will be completely dependent on Article Linker or other tools. In fact, as you'll see, we sometimes have to be more resourceful than usual in accessing these older periodicals. Let's start in RIPM by searching on the name of an important early American composer, William Billings. We get 20 matches. Next, to demonstrate RIPM's historical coverage, I'll set the ranking selector to bring the oldest sources to the top of the list. I select the first document, which was printed in the November 14, 1838 issue of Boston Musical Gazette. I click on Article Linker to try to find the full text and choose ProQuest American Periodicals. This search fails, as you can see on the next page. I go back to the intermediate page and choose the other option, an EBSCO database, but that search also fails, due in both cases to what we might call the less standard bibliographic indexing of early 19th century sources like this one. Next, I'll try capturing a unique phrase from the index title and pasting this into the Articles Plus search in Compass. This trick sometimes works, but this time it does not. This is beginning to be challenging. I'm going to have to try to find it the old-fashioned way, using the citation. I examine the record for the article in RIPM and capture the name of the publication, Boston Musical Gazette. I paste this title into the library catalog to see if I have any access to this journal, and it seems I do. I choose the first record, which offers me a link to American Antiquarian Society historical periodicals in the EBSCO platform. This takes me to a publication detail page with a single link for the year 1838. I click on 1838, but there is no link for a November 14th issue. There is, however, a link for a September 14th issue, so I try that. I click on the first document, and it opens in a special page view display, which is sometimes used for historical newspapers. This allows me to navigate to the first page, where I double-click to zoom in, and what do you know? In spite of the indexing, this is actually the November 14th issue, not the September 14th issue. I know my article is on page 115, so I use the viewer to navigate directly to that page. Browsing the page, I find my article in the bottom left corner. At the top of the next column is the author's reference to Billings. That was fun, at least for a librarian. Now let's look at a couple of other unique features of a record in RIPM. One of my favorites is the journal detail link. This takes us to a short historical essay on the periodical in question. Ripham has a page like this for each of the more than 215 journals they have indexed. Together, they give a detailed picture of the history of periodical publishing in music since the 18th century. Another wonderful aspect to Ripham is the Ripham blog linked here, Curios, News, and Chronicles. Periodica Musica is the old Ripham newsletter, no longer in print. To summarize Ripham, it's a unique source of indexing of older and historical periodicals in music. It indexes music periodicals from 1750 to 1966, but focuses on the period from 1800 to 1950. It has no full text, and delivery of some of these obscure journals can be tricky to fulfill, but librarians do have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, so don't be afraid to ask for help. We've now examined 3 music databases, Music Index, RILM, and Ripham, all of which share a similar look and feel because they live on the same EBSCO platform. Now we'll look at a couple of important ones from ProQuest. Music Periodicals Database was a latecomer to this arena around 1998. It used to be called IIMP for International Index of Music Periodicals, and sometimes librarians like me forget the name has changed and still call it that. It was designed to compete with EBSCO's music databases and has some of the features of all 3. Like Music Index, it covers both scholarly and popular periodicals in music. Like RILM, it indexes at least some books in music, although there are only very few and it would seem they are all ProQuest ebooks. And like Ripham, it indexes a large number of older periodicals. Its retrospective indexing is competitive with that of Ripham, and although it does not focus on early historical titles, its indexing only going back as far as the 1870s. There is much in Ripham that is unique. Where Music Periodicals database really stands out is in its full text access. In a library environment like that of DU with our hundreds of databases and article linker URL resolver, this is less important, but a very rough test indicates that Music Periodicals database has full text coverage for about 30% of the citations indexed. We're already familiar with the ProQuest interface from our experience with ProQuest Central, so let's jump right in. We'll look first for our Rolling Stone article on My Chemical Romance, Attack of the Glitter Geeks. For the sake of efficiency, I'll type in the article as a search phrase, and we'll get a single match. Here, as in Music Index, the full text of the article is available, though not in PDF. We can download a PDF of the article from here, but it is really just a PDF version of this HTML page, not of the original printed page. Let's also try our Lawrence Kramer article in Journal of Music Theory entitled Music Recomposed, Remarks on the History of the Same. Here we see the full text of the article is not available, but the article linker button is. The path to the full text through the article linker is the same as it was before. At the top of the page, the publications link takes us to a searchable list of journal titles, just as it did with Music Index. Having an accurate citation to begin with, we can navigate to the desired article in the same way. Music Periodicals database indexes about 600 journal titles, with partial full-text access to around 220 of those titles. ProQuest Dissertations and Theses, also called PQDT, is the online version of a former print publication that was called Dissertation Abstracts International. This database is the largest database of doctoral dissertations and master's theses. It is also the official Library of Congress archive of digitized doctoral dissertations. This database is not specifically geared toward music research, but it is important for you to know about it. Dissertations are unpublished works of scholarship that fall into a large category called gray literature. Dissertations are an especially valuable source of bibliographic citations because when you write a dissertation, you have to demonstrate that you have really mastered the literature on your topic. For the same reason, they also often include a chapter devoted to reviewing and summarizing the previous literature on their topic. Finally, dissertations are a good place to look for cutting-edge scholarship. Not technically subject to peer review, dissertations do, however, have to be reviewed and approved by a faculty committee before they are accepted. Emerging scholars typically make their first serious foray into their chosen specialty in their doctoral dissertation, or sometimes in their master's thesis. Today's dissertation author may be tomorrow's author of peer-reviewed journal scholarship and a future book author. In fact, the best dissertations are often revised and published as monographs. In searching for theses and dissertations on music, keep in mind that there will be a definite overlap with RILM, which also indexes dissertations. However, it's likely that PQDT will have documents that are not in RILM, because it is designed to systematically capture all dissertations, a simple task, while RILM's mission to capture all literature on music is much more complex. Also, PQDT includes a large number of master's theses, which are normally not included in RILM. Let's try searching PQDT by author. Entering the name Banducci Antonia returns a document on French Baroque opera. Clicking on the full record, we can choose to view an abstract, a short PDF preview of the document, or the entire 428-page dissertation. Let's try again. Entering the name Scheinbaum John returns a match for a document on aspects of Mahler's compositional style. In this case, there is no PDF available because the author has chosen not to make the document available online, a practice sometimes called embargoing it. Article Linker does not help us since there is really no other significant online source for dissertation texts. There is a link to order a copy from ProQuest, but you can also often obtain the original from the institution where it was submitted by making a request through interlibrary loan. Let's do this one more time. Searching on the author Colohan Elwood returns a match for a document on metric structure in Baroque music. This record shows some useful features that are not present in all PQDT citations. First, there is a list of bibliographic citations drawn from the document, which is a useful shortcut if that's what you're mainly looking for. There's also a list of documents that cite this document, in this case one, which is a useful tool for tracing a chain of influence. Third, there's also a list of documents that share references with this document on the principle that they are likely to be related in some way. This video tutorial has led us through 5 different electronic research databases useful for scholarship on music topics. First, we looked at Music Index, RILM, and RIPM, all in the EBSCO platform. Next, we examined Music Periodicals database and ProQuest dissertations and theses, both on the ProQuest platform. In an earlier tutorial, we covered important features of these search interfaces, as well as that of JSTOR. To do a thorough literature search on a music topic, you should consult each of these sources individually, along with other tools such as library catalogs and research bibliographies. The best publications on your topic may not be discoverable through all of these databases, so take your time and look through them individually.